Hey, so I wanted to get on here while I am pre-pulling my hair, getting ready for wash day, um, to just share an experience I had today and what God I feel like downloaded into my spirit. This is for anyone who may be in a season of unknown, a season of new territory, a season of feeling lost or overwhelmed or unsure. Um, we all go through those seasons, and a lot of times from the outside, it may look like we're handling everything and, just brushing things off as they come. But sometimes we can be in seasons of real uncertainty, and that can cause a lot of anxiousness. It can cause depression. Um, and it can be scary. They say that depression is when we are stuck looking at the past, and anxiety is when we're stuck worrying about the future. um and so being in those seasons, the Lord brought to me today a few things. I thought about Hagar and her experience in being in a really rough place and just trying to find, in her own mind, um, a way out. And in trying to find a way out, she suffered. She was suffering there, and then she suffered even more trying to find her way out. But she wasn't willing to risk her child, right? And she cried out for help. And the Lord saw her and he gave her a word. And in that, he rescued her. And even though she had to go back to the place where she came from, um, he had a plan for her and her child, and he fulfilled that. And when the Lord spoke to her in the wilderness, she called him El Roy, God who sees me. And this morning, thinking about that, it really touched me. Um, I don't know if you've ever had this happen where, like, you wake up, you either think about something or you hear a song, and you don't know what it is that wells up inside you, but it's just a spontaneous worship, a spontaneous gratitude, and you don't even know where it comes from, or a spontaneous closeness. Or you can be in a season where you've been asking to feel close to the Lord, and you haven't felt close to him. He's always close to us, but maybe you have not felt close to him, and then you have that moment where you remember what that relationship feels like, and you feel him in your presence. And I had that moment this morning, and right now I would say I'm in a season of, and this is the first time in my life, right? I've been through things in my 20s where I felt um, not in control of what is happening, and not knowing what is going to happen, or not seeing, a way out. And right now, I told my friend this morning that I feel like I'm in a season of peaceful disruption, or, um, yeah, peaceful disruption, you know, in the sense that I know I'm not in control, but I'm surrendered to what the Lord has for me. And because I've had so many things happen in this season that I have not been in control, it forced me to surrender. And in surrendering, I, welcomed the Lord's peace. I pleaded for the Lord's peace, because when you're in those seasons of not being in control, that's the only thing that you can hold fast to is your peace. Um, And I feel like in this season, walking through this and being in a space of peaceful disruption, welcoming this peaceful disruption, um, God is like the Exodus, right? You're walking out of a season, you're walking out of a place, and that place may have had you in bondage, but in walking out, right, there's uncertainty. And in that uncertainty, God still shows you He's with you because He provides. So I received my manna in the wilderness this morning. And I found that out after I, just had that spontaneous worship. And it just reminded me that, one, to have gratitude for every day and every small thing, every small way that God shows up and shows you He's here and He is with you. I don't care if it's, the way that a butterfly, flew past you, or a bird chirped when you needed to hear the peace of God, or somebody decided to pay for your groceries when you didn't have the money to, or somehow a check just popped up in your bank account and you didn't even know that that money was coming, but it was in the exact amount that you needed when you needed it, and the Lord showed up in that way. Um, just having that spontaneous gratitude, and you know in everything, right? Prayer and supplication, prayer and thanksgiving, right? Being anxious for nothing. um I feel like I've known this my whole life, but in this season I'm walking it out, and it's such a beautiful feeling. And being in psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner school and learning these different modalities, I can see how they intertwine with my faith, and how the Lord is within us, and how the Lord is in everything. And sometimes we think that we can't have faith in science, or we can't have faith in research or evidence-based practice, but you see how God designed us, and this is the study of God's work. This is how we know how to fix our bodies through food or exercise or through medical care, mental health care. These are all things that God has provided and downloaded into us to be able to take care of us. And whether it's in a scientific term or whether you back it up with scripture, it all comes from the Lord. Um, Everything that is within His will and aligns with His will. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to share that message that, um, being able to walk out what you read and what you're learning in full honesty and transparency, and being at peace does not mean that you don't get upset. It doesn't mean that you don't get sad. It doesn't mean that you don't worry. It doesn't mean that you don't question. It doesn't mean that um, you just succumb to whatever is happening to you in a moment. But the peace is that you know that no matter what, God is and will work everything for your good. And as long as you are moving down the path that you know that God has purpose for you and called you to, He's with you, and He will continue to bring you through and walk you through. And you don't have to fear your future. You don't have to fear what's going to happen in the future. Just continue to walk today. So I just wanted to share that message with you all tonight. And I hope that this message resonates with you. I hope that it helps somebody. I hope it encourages somebody. And I hope that you have a blessed night.